Hey everybody, Rob Maurer here. Welcome back to Tesla Daily. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Today we are going to be talking about Elon Musk's first visit to China in quite a long time. We have a few other stories out of China as well. We've got Tesla's release of FSD Beta 11.4.2 and an update on Tesla's hiring attempts for their AI development. So quite a few things to go through today. We'll start off with the stock. Tesla up 4.14% on the day today. The NASDAQ up about 1/3%. So we didn't have an episode on Friday, but this continues a really strong couple of days here, trading days here for Tesla following the Ford announcement. So really nice to see the markets have been generally supportive of kind of growth type of stocks right now, kind of probably riding a little bit of the NVIDIA wave alongside the Ford announcement as well. So nice to see that, and hopefully we'll see that continue throughout the rest of this week. We do have a couple of SEC filings to go through right off the bat here. The first was a Form 4. This was filed for JB Straubel, just showing his ownership as he is now on Tesla's board of directors. And although JB was a co-founder and former CTO for a long time, it doesn't look like he owns any more shares or options of Tesla. Obviously, JB starting Redwood Materials back in 2017 and really taking it sort of the next level in 2019. Looks like probably most of that equity went to fund Redwood Materials would be my best guess on that front. So it'll be interesting to see, hopefully JB gets a little bit of shares back through his board position. And then we also have a Form 144. This is on behalf of Drew Baglino. This is basically just a form that is alerting investors of a potential stock sale or the intent of a stock sale, but it's only for 10,000 shares. Drew does this relatively frequently as just part of his general compensation, so nothing too major with this Form 144. All right, getting into the news from Elon Musk. He has arrived today, it looks like, in Beijing and has met with Chinese Minister of Foreign Affairs. I think he may have some other meetings lined up with other government officials in China as well. And then it sounds like he's going to carry through and go into Shanghai, probably visit Giga Shanghai and things like that there. But it sounds like the result of this initial meeting with the foreign Minister of Foreign Affairs was that Elon said he's committed to further expanding Tesla's business in China, is against decoupling, which I think in this context would be decoupling of China and the US. So kind of interesting contrast to what we had heard Elon say on the David Faber interview, where he mentioned that there are some limits on Tesla's ability to grow in China. Looks like maybe we're not quite at those limits yet. If Elon is talking about continuing to expand the business here. I'm sure they also talked about FSD. That was another rumor that we had previously in terms of Tesla wanting to be able to deploy FSD Beta and possibly the government support of that. So we'll see what else comes out of this. I'm sure we'll continue to hear more as his trip continues. But Elon Musk was also seen with CATL CEO, and we know that obviously Tesla's got a lot of business with them. CATL building a factory in Shanghai next to Giga Shanghai as well. So I'm sure they had a lot to discuss in addition. So again, we'll probably hear more about this as the week carries on. I'm sure Elon will be there for at least a couple of days, so we'll keep an eye out for more. All right, next up, we've got new China insured vehicle numbers for the week of May 22nd through May 28th. So this week, the numbers came in at 12,800. You can see here a pretty strong week for Tesla relative over the last couple of quarters. This now puts quarter to date at right around 80,000 vehicles insured so far through the first 8 weeks of insured vehicle data. Versus Q4 last year, that was about 73,000 at this point in time. Q1 was about 56,000 or so at this point in the quarter. But remember, in Q1, we did have Chinese New Year affecting the early production there in the first quarter. So looks like we're continuing to develop this quarter pretty solidly. For a record quarter, Tesla would need to average about 11,500 over the following 5 weeks, the remainder of the quarter. So it looks like a very achievable number with the 12,800 that we're seeing here. But a little bit of a caveat to that, and also tying this in with Elon's visit to China, we had previous reports that beginning June 1st, in a couple of days, Giga Shanghai employees had been told to not bring their cell phones into work, and it sounds like there might be some downtime, could be related to Project Highland around that point. So that could affect Tesla's ability to hit a record number this quarter in terms of vehicle sales in China if Model 3 production is down for a significant portion of the quarter for the last month. So keep an eye on that, and maybe as these numbers come in, that could give us a little bit more of a hint too on if that is really happening. So lots going on there in China right now. One quick story. This is a story that dates back a couple of years now. We're not going to go into it too detailed today because we've talked about it before and it's really not super important, but there's been a little bit of a resolution on a second lawsuit that has been brought by a Tesla customer who complained of brake failure and was pretty demonstrative at Tesla vehicle displays at car shows and things like that against Tesla and making claims against them that they were, basically covering it up or lying or something like that. A couple of her lawsuits have now been dismissed, so kind of a win for Tesla on that in that regard. All right, next up, we've got Tesla's release of FSD Beta 11.4.2. So this had previously been with employees. Elon had said this one was kind of the one that was ready for really wide release, and they have now done that beyond just initial employees. From Not a Tesla App, it looks like about 40% of beta users have currently been updated to 11.4.2. I did have the good fortune of being able to drive 11.4.1 about 8 hours this weekend and then 11.4.2 about 8 hours back. So I had a nice chance to compare them. And 11.4.2 definitely did a lot better in terms of just some minor issues that I had with 4.1. So still need to do a little bit more in-city testing, but so far my results have been pretty positive, and that seems to be the case for others in sort of initial testing as well. Now, kind of an interesting thing here that Elon updated us on Twitter. Obviously, a lot of people have complained about auto wipers over the years. Elon replying to Tesla Tino here saying that, sorry, this is one of the last neural nets to be updated to surround video from single camera, single frame, which once they get around to doing that, that should be a very significant step change in terms of the functionality, the performance of this feature. Obviously, if you're trying to gauge rain from a single camera, single frame, it's going to be a lot less effective than doing that over time with video-based and with 8 cameras. So I'll be excited to see that update when Tesla does finally have a little bit of time to implement that. Now, also an interesting update here in Tesla's job listings. This was pointed out on Twitter. Tesla now is listing a position for a machine learning engineer for a large language model, and for autopilot AI parentheses Dojo. So in the job description, they talk about the position doing setup and training for large language models. I don't know, I'm having trouble saying that. Large language models like GPT-3 and porting such models to run efficiently on the Dojo supercomputer. So not only is it interesting that Tesla is specifically talking about training large language models, they're also talking about running those efficiently on Dojo, which of course we have talked about and Elon has talked about, could be a possible another revenue source for Tesla if they're able to leverage that for other companies that are looking to do similar sort of AI training. So I think pretty exciting to see this position listed and LLMs called out very specifically in this position. So hopefully we'll hear a little bit more on that later on. Next, we've got a couple of updates on charging. Tesla has started to offer 1 free year of unlimited overnight vehicle charging at home. I think previously at Investor Day, they had kind of announced a charging plan with Tesla Electric in Texas. I believe it was $30 per month, if I remember correctly, for sort of unlimited charging. So this would basically be, $360 discount on sort of that rate for customers in Texas that are in eligible territories to sign up for Tesla Electric if they take delivery of a new Model 3 between May 26th and June 30th. So kind of a Q2 incentive. Looks like it's specifically focused on Model 3 as Tesla adds a little bit of incentive and, again, a very small portion of their sales territories there in Texas. So kind of cool to see a little bit of a combination of different products and Tesla's ability to leverage those, sort of the ecosystem concept, of course, to be able to promote the Model 3 here. And then we also heard a little bit more from Ford on their plans with the adoption of NACS, the North American Charging Standard. Ford is going to be sending all Ford EV owners an NACS adapter. So obviously they said in 2025 they're going to use that NACS connector as their standard on their EVs, but until then the adapter will have to get them by, and Ford sounds like it's going to be sending those out, probably complimentary, but TBD I guess on that piece. So I think there's maybe around 100,000. I wasn't able to find exact numbers on Ford's deliveries in US EVs so far, but it's not going to be a huge number. Still, it'll be a decent size order for that adapter from Tesla. All right, last few things here. One thing from the NHTSA today is that they've closed an investigation of Tesla on allowing passengers and sometimes drivers to play video games through the Tesla entertainment system on the touchscreen while the vehicle is not in park. So this is going back, I think, almost a year and a half now, and Tesla very quickly disabled that functionality. Unfortunate for passengers, but obviously if drivers are doing that, it's not something that would be safe with current autopilot functionality. And NHTSA did find that, I'm not sure how they determine this, but they say that it's apparent driver use of passenger play was approximately a third of the trips in which that was being used. So basically passengers using it 2/3 of the time, drivers actually using it 1/3 of the time. Again, not sure how they came to that conclusion, but obviously that is a relatively significant number for the amount of usage that it was getting, if that is accurate. But again, Tesla disabled that quickly, so basically they're just wrapping this up and saying no recall needed because Tesla's already kind of taken care of that problem. Next, we've got another state EV credit. So not necessarily a new credit, but an update to EV state credits in Colorado. So beginning July 1st this year, all Colorado residents who purchase or lease an EV with an MSRP up to $80,000 will qualify for an EV tax credit of $5,000. I don't think there are income caps on this, so kind of like similar to what we talked about with Minnesota, but they're using an even higher MSRP here with this $5,000 credit. So pretty cool. I think the current state EV tax credit is $2,000, so a pretty significant increase. And they also say that beginning next year, January 1st, 2024, EVs under $35,000 will be eligible for an additional tax credit of $2,500. Now, it sounds like this gets phased out. I'm not sure how the second part of it works with the phase out, but it looks like beginning in 2026, this $5,000 credit gets cut to $3,500, then it scales down to $1,500, then to $1,000, then to $500 before being completely phased out. So an exciting update in the short term. Hopefully once Tesla gets this next generation vehicle out, they can maybe sneak in there with a little bit of $7,500 credits on a lower price vehicle, in addition to potentially a federal credit of $7,500, where the vehicle might then be like $15,000. Could be kind of crazy there in Colorado for a little bit, but that phase out timing will make that a little bit challenging for Tesla to hit. So we'll see on that. Maybe the Model 3 eventually with Project Highland gets under this, in which case that can be very compelling there with this credit, in addition to already being compelling, of course, with the $5,000 credit sort of base. So exciting to see that for Colorado. They've always been pretty supportive with those EV credits. And then we talked previously about the event that Tesla was holding at Giga Berlin. So we kind of figured out, or Tobias Lin figured out, that was going to be an employee event, sort of a family celebration day. So Tesla did have that. They say, celebrated with 10,000 employees and their families at Giga Berlin Family Day. So they just put a quick video up of that celebration, but nice to see some fun there at Giga Berlin. And then finally for today, we do want to take a quick look at the calendar. Nothing too major going on, of course, various economic reports this week, but no CPI or PPI yet. As we wrap up in May, we should see those in early June. Not sure if they'll be next week, but I think it's actually probably the following week. So doesn't look like anything too major. Of course, a lot going on in Congress as usual, but we'll see on that sort of stuff. So that'll wrap it up for today. As always, thank you for listening. Make sure you're subscribed and signed up for notifications. You can also find me on Twitter at Tesla Podcast. And we'll see you tomorrow for the Wednesday, May 31st episode of Tesla Daily. Thank you.